I've been thinking a lot recently about what my passion might be. Do I have a passion? And it's been difficult to identify it if I do have an easily defined passion. But naturally, I've looked at what do I do for work? What have I done for work for 10 years now? Massage therapy. Is providing massage therapy my passion, or is that simply the topic? Is that my passion, massage therapy? And that's an easy no. It's easy for me to say no to that. Um, Doing this work has served me very well and allowed me to. Um, it's just been a very good thing. It's been a positive thing in my life for sure. Doing this work, and I enjoy it, and I feel very grateful to have now basically forever this skill that I can use to earn money and be a positive force in the lives of others, and to, at the very least, temporarily help people to relax and let go. Do they inevitably or almost instantaneously after the session go right back into their ways and, you know, fill their body with stress again? Yes, they do. But I still see the value of the experiences that I provide to them. And again, in the general sense, it has been and it continues to be fulfilling to be a positive force, no matter how temporary, in the lives of others. But am I passionate about the work? It's not passion. And though I already knew this, I really realized this during 2020 COVID lockdowns. Um, my entire field and any similar field that could be categorized as basically because it's not medical, it's not happening within the medical context. So it was considered non essential what I do. And it was essentially, it was basically illegal to do what I do for a little window of time there. So when I wasn't doing it, and for months I wasn't doing it, I realized I don't miss it, right? Eventually, I did miss being a positive force in the lives of others, but not the work itself, not massage therapy. And I realized that I could actually never do it again and I would be fine. That's not my plan, nor is it my plan to do it forever as a full time gig. It's something I think I would always enjoy. I hope I'm always able to do it in some capacity, at least for a long time to come. But anyway, what in thinking about all this, I realized that that's really what started me. That's really what pushed me in the direction. I guess within myself, no outside person pushed me in the direction of massage therapy, but that's what attracted me to it. Was I saw it as, and it really is, and it could be for anyone, a direct path to being a positive force in the lives of others. And that's a very general concept, right? There are many ways to do that. But for me, that path, I saw it as actually realistic for myself. And it turns out it was. And it's helped me so much. And I've grown so much as a person because of it in many ways. But back to the point, in which is that, and I don't know if it's passion. I still don't know if it's passion, but I think it might be, because that was that missing element that I started to, that once it was in my life, I felt like a hole was being filled. Now, again, maybe massage therapy isn't the perfect fit at the end of the day, even after 10 years and after everything that I've said. But me, in a real way, being a positive force in the lives of others, that's what I was interested in. That's what I continue to be interested in. And that's what I want to do with this channel. And that's what I want to continue to do with this channel. Because in thinking about this topic, what is my passion, I've also thought, like, well, what is this YouTube channel that I have, that I maintain, that I upkeep, that I continue to create content for? And what am I even doing here? And this also is why I changed the name recently. I did leave the handle. It's still, to find me on YouTube, is still at We Are Living Magic. But I've, in a way, grown apart, so to speak. It's not that dramatic, but it feels like I've kind of grown apart from that name. It's a little bit, probably because the word magic is a little bit too much like, you know, we are living magic. It's a little bit too, um, I don't know. Clearly, I've lost a little bit. I've lost connection to that, but I still kind of like it. So it's still there as the handle. But anyway, why inner world is a very simple pair of words, but it's more. It makes more sense. Like it feels like it requires no explanation. And maybe We Are Living Magic never did either. But looking at what am I doing with this channel? What have I been doing? What do I plan to do? I'm like, what even is the topic? What's the niche, right? Because if you were to look right now about like videos, like how to start a YouTube channel or what should you do, they say, I mean, you should choose a topic. You should have a category, not just make a bunch of videos like willy nilly, which is basically what I've done here for a long time. Though, and I have created playlists because some videos can be categorized and others, you know, they can be lumped together. But inner world, that's all this really is me sharing my own inner world, my own worldview or opinions, perspectives, thoughts, feelings, all of that stuff. It's all about just like how I see the world, ideas that are floating around in my head. I'm putting them out there. Some stuff is not even, there's no ideas. It's just me recording a video and then posting it, right? Trying to share, though it's not necessarily possible, trying to share my own present moment with the internet and putting it out there. That's one thing that I do. But in thinking about all of this, I have been, I guess, creating, and I even have videos right now that are scheduled to upload, some shorts. I've been actually wanting to be, I guess, have a more active role in what I'm doing here. I mean, I guess I'm trying to shape something, shape this channel into something. And what do I feel is worth sharing, right? Because I always fall back to this space where it's like, I really don't feel, and even if I did feel this way, I don't want to, and I'm not trying to come across as an authority on a certain topic and like I'm here to teach you or bestow my knowledge or guide you or anything like that. I'm not interested in doing that. I'm not interested in being that person or seeming like I am that person or like I have something to offer. Not that I have nothing to offer. It's just in making any type of video where like it seems like advice is being given. The idea is that somebody feels like their advice is worth hearing, but it's not necessarily that. I'm trying to, again, and sometimes it's in the most general way possible. What I'm interested in doing here is being a positive force in this space to whichever capacity I can do that. I'm addicted to YouTube. I'm addicted to the internet. And recently I have found myself getting caught looking through YouTube shorts. And it really is just a toxic space that is I almost good for nothing. It's good for entertainment, right? And I'm not completely against it. But what I've realized with these YouTube shorts is that no matter how much feedback I put as far as not interested and then just selecting the reason why I'm not interested or don't show me this channel, no matter how much feedback I try to put into the algorithm to kind of create a positive feedback loop, it actually doesn't work. It's as though the algorithm doesn't care. It's ignoring my input. And I've wasted a lot of time just out of curiosity trying to see, is it able to be shaped? And it isn't. It always gives me, inevitably, it keeps giving me the same toxic sludge And I keep saying, don't show me this channel. Well, there's another channel that uploaded the same sludge, and it's just all being um, pushed. And I don't believe for a second that me making some like positive energy or good advice or whatever it is, if it's wisdom or whatever it could be categorized as, if I'm trying to make shorts that I feel have some kind of a value, at least in the message, um, something that could again just have the slight chance of helping someone. Do I think that's going to like overtake the algorithm and change YouTube Shorts forever? No, it's probably actually just going to get swept under the rug and pushed down. But anyway, again, not trying to be, my goal here is not to be Mr. Perfect Guru, perfect example of a person, be like me guy. But it's just to spread positivity and positive energy, and maybe try to continue to create a space that does that, that is positive in general, and maybe a place where we can offer each other support and understanding and bounce ideas off of one another or give critical feedback to one another or whatever it might be. There's just a lot of flat out toxic stuff and toxic people really on the internet that are hateful and insecure and bitter and just obsessed with negativity and negative perspectives. And they feel empowered to spread those energies because they don't have a face. They're able to hide their face. It's like the easiest thing in the world to do in a comment. And I'm absolutely certain that I am guilty of that at times. And you can find how, I don't know, but they're still there. I'm sure they are. I've left plenty of comments like that under this channel name on YouTube, where it's just so easy to make, and it's almost always for humor's sake, for comedy's sake, to try to make people laugh. And sometimes it works, but it's really easy to be mean when you're just leaving a comment, right? It's easy to be toxic or negative when, in a way, you might argue that you're spreading positivity through the laughter that you're trying to create. It's just that the internet, it's just so easy to be toxic. It's so easy to be negative here. And maybe a lot of people can't relate to that. But when I look back at like at the beginning of what the internet was for me, I remember going to my friend's house and we would go like on Yahoo Pool, which is just basically an open chat room with a little pool mini game, or Yahoo Answers, and just trolling people. We would get our accounts banned and make new accounts and see how far you could push it. And same thing with Xbox Live in the early days. Like that's those are my roots on the internet, is being a troll and saying hurtful or negative things to people from the space of from this anonymous space, not having a name, in some cases even lying about my age and my location and my gender. This is like when I was a kid, right? Like we would do this stuff for fun. This was some of the early fun that we had on the internet. Or in the case of Xbox Live, you're not going to really hide that much because people can hear your voice, but it was just a lot of toxicity for the sake of humor. And it was a lot of fun. I can't act like it wasn't fun. And the reason I'm explaining that a little bit is because I can't act like I don't get it. I get what that is. And I understand the appeal. But I don't want that. I don't want to create that myself anymore. And again, the ideas, the vision, if you will, that I have for the future of this channel is to just try to be positive. And in a way, showing people, however I'm able to do it, showing people that it's not that it's like a lot of people think it's cool to be like everything I just described beforehand, to say like negative things or act like you're hard and, oh, if somebody has their feelings hurt, then they're weak. And I don't know. I mean, there's a balance to be had, right? Like you don't want to be a quote unquote snowflake and be, and crumble just because of words that you hear that offended you. But on the other hand, you don't want to be completely cold and disconnected from other people. At least I don't want to be. But yeah, I want this to be a positive space, and I want to spread positive messages. But at the same time, I plan to continue to make videos just being my authentic self in whichever way that might come through. Because, for example, a couple of recent videos and some shorts and some that I have scheduled, I've been like writing out my thoughts, editing my thoughts a little bit, and then reading my thoughts, reading the script that I wrote basically, and making a video that way. So it's still coming from me, but it sounds completely different because I'm reading the written form of my own communication. But I can see already, even after the first one and then the second one and then making a few more, if that were all I did here, it would be like, it would not seem very authentic, because I know who I really am, and I know that I don't talk like that. And I know that it's not all sunshine, rainbows, butterflies, and positivity floating around in my head. I wouldn't want to create that image of myself, or imply to anyone that that's how they should live, or that's how they should be, because it just isn't realistic. But that doesn't mean that we can't try our best to focus on the positive aspects of everything in our lives, the positive perspective of your own life or yourself, and stop being so hard on ourselves, because that's something that I struggle with pretty deeply in this life, is just being hard on myself, being critical of myself. And I guess making videos on YouTube like this, or like any videos, it's a good exercise to learn how to be better about all of that, because of my own nature, I will overanalyze or just be overly critical of the messages that I put out, the way that I say things, the way that I sound when I say it, and think like about how I might be perceived by others or whatever. But the more that I'm able to just record myself and not filter too much and just put it out there, the better that feels. It just feels like a good exercise to do. Yeah, it's funny sometimes when I look at YouTube, like, and I watch a lot of this stuff now too, but traditionally, when I look way back when I first started using YouTube, probably before I even made an account, but just when I started using it, I was attracted to real people. I just found accounts of real people that I liked, and they were just recording themselves living a life in some cases, and then talking to the camera like this sometimes, or showing you their home or whatever it was. It was like sharing their life, but it was just real people. A lot of what YouTube is, it makes me cringe, and that's okay. That's what's cool about this space, or any space like this, is that you can just do whatever you want here, right? But this whole thing where it's like, what's up, you guys? Welcome back to another video, blah, 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 and it's like this in your face, like really weird, like over the top, almost like too unrealistic positive energy. That's just like, at least for me, that's not how I am. In general, I'm just lower energy than that usually, but also the thought, I mean, again, not even the thought, just the experience of it makes me cringe. Where it's like just this really like fast in your face positive forced weirdness, too much like it's too much, it feels too much like, I wouldn't say too much like acting, but like we're all acting, everybody, I think. Especially you put a camera on somebody, I put a camera on myself, I'm going to be operating through a mask, just as I am if I'm in a public space, just as I am if I'm at work. Almost any time that I'm in front of another human, there's a mask, that social mask, that like whatever my personality is, or whatever I want people to think it is, or however that stuff works. It's automatic. And throughout my life, I've learned how to do that. I mean, with more experience, I get better at it, right? I've gotten really good in this life at masking. I learned at a really early age that it was necessary. And I'm not sure exactly what that is. I guess I just didn't want to be, I never wanted to be outcast. Probably because only I know truly how weird I really am, or how different I have always felt from other people, right? So starting out very early, I just started mimicking other people. Um, and it becomes an act, and you develop this mask and this way to interact with others. And it's actually fun in a way, because you can use that social mask to make jokes and make people laugh, and you can use it for play. It's useful, and I love making people laugh. That's probably the main thing that I do. But yeah, this is a real thing. I think about this a lot. Like, even with my best friends that I have in this life, or my family, I know how to use the social mask to relate with them and to spend time with them. And how, basically, again, I use it a lot to make them laugh. I know how to make people laugh. And sometimes you make people laugh a lot, and they want to be around you more. They want to spend more time with you, and they like, I like being around you. I laugh a lot. Um, and sometimes it seems like they don't understand. I often have thought that we all understand what's going on, but it seems like sometimes people don't understand that that's what that is. That it takes energy to put on that mask and to make you laugh and to be that positive thing in that moment, right? This idea of being your true self. Be yourself. Don't be fake. Why are you acting? Why do you have to put on a mask? Why can't you just be yourself? Well, I'm one of those people. I've always been since I was a kid. I was the quiet kid, right, in school. So that idea of be yourself. Well, me being myself. That's when I stay home and I don't hang out and I'm not speaking or listening to anyone and I'm doing my own thing. That's when I'm being my most authentic and true self at almost any given time. And that's not to say that there are not those times where I do feel the urge, the genuine urge to go out and connect with people and spend time with them. But still, in order to do that, I have to mask. Because otherwise, I will just be in the presence of others, but still just be like dead silent, no words. Like, wow, you're really quiet today, huh? And I'm just going to be like, yeah. Because that's the real me. The real me typically is just that. So this idea of being yourself is sometimes really complicated to me when I think about that. But yeah, social mask is useful. I put it on, then I can express thoughts and feelings, and there's like there isn't that vulnerability that there would be otherwise, because and it's interesting. I can put on the social mask and I can just share thoughts as they appear in my mind, and I can watch how that it makes people uncomfortable, or it just sounds weird, or it's whatever, and I can have fun with it, and it's amusing to me to see how that maybe to say how I might say inappropriate things in front of somebody, and my thought wasn't that this is an inappropriate thought, I'm going to share it now. It was just that let me just start sharing my thoughts as they arise in my mind in real time and see how this person reacts. It's almost always not good. It's almost always them becoming uncomfortable and me laughing, because though I might not laugh, but me laughing because it's entertaining to watch that process. My experience for the most part in life has been that when I am really showing my authentic self, the real me, like raw, unfiltered me to other people, no one is having a good time. No one is comfortable with that. But if I use the social mask to make them laugh using all the methods that I've learned how to make them laugh, And it is going to be different depending on the person, but I've always done that. I've learned people that I love, my friends and family, I learned their sense of humor and I learned how to make them laugh, because that's one of the best feelings in the world, is to make somebody laugh. But I have to know them, and yeah, people like that, they don't like you being your real self. That's what I've learned in this world. Uh, so yeah, and maybe because that is my experience, that's probably why, like I said, the real me, like if I'm being completely myself, that's going to be me. I don't necessarily need to be at home, but it's going to be me being alone and not speaking to or listening to anyone, and focusing more on what's happening. Like the most authentic I've ever been, I think, for example, on YouTube, is what I mentioned earlier, those videos where I'm just recording the space that I'm in and not saying anything. And maybe I'll show myself for a second just so that you know I'm there, but that's the real me, is when I'm not speaking. That's the real me. When there's just silence, and if anything, I'm just observing, and taking in all of the sounds and smells and feelings and sights that I have available to me in that moment. That's when I feel like I'm actually myself, right? Because there's no acting taking place. The moment I speak, it's an act. The moment anyone speaks, it's an act. They're performing. And it's not that every time someone speaks they're being fake or something like that, but we have to perform in order to get our message across. We create messages. I can't even remember what I started with this video, but I guess in general, in my mind, when I press record, I'm thinking about the new year, and a part of me wants to say, like, how are you guys? How was your 2023? I hope it was good. It was a good year for me, because I do feel that way. I feel that it was a good year for me. But the truth is that I don't currently, and I don't think I ever have, define my life based on years. I don't make tally marks. Oh, another year gone. And I don't really do that. I don't break down my life year by year and analyze each year and think, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? That process is always happening, but I just don't put spacers in between it. Year, month, week. Next year I'm going to do this. Next month I'm going to do this. Next week I'm going to do this. If I have a goal or like a New Year's resolution type thing, like this idea where you want to change yourself or learn a new skill or whatever, my thought is that you should just do it. You should just start that thing right now, right? The easiest example that I keep jumping back to, because I'm involved in it right now, learning a new language. If you've always wanted to learn French, or you always wanted to learn German, or Tagalog, or Japanese, you don't need to say, well, I think next year I'm going to start learning that because I've always wanted to do that. Or, next month I'm going to start that. Next week, tomorrow I'll do that. You could actually, because you're right here on YouTube, you could just turn this video off and search for like beginner Japanese, absolute beginner Japanese, simple phrases or something. And you can start learning right now. You can write down on a piece of paper or in a Word document or whatever you have available. Or if you don't even want to be organized about it, you can just start learning it, just start trying to repeat what you hear on the videos. Like we don't actually have to wait to do almost anything when it comes to learning a new skill, or like this idea of like, I'm going to get into shape next year. I'm going to join the gym. Well, that's a good idea. But before next year comes and before you sign up for that gym membership, right now you can get on the ground and you can start doing push-ups, right? You can do body weight squats until your legs hurt, right? There's nothing stopping you from doing any of these things but yourself. And this whole idea of next year and how it, I don't know, the whole thing, it's funny, it's weird to me, the New Year's thing. I get the idea of celebrating, and any excuse we have to celebrate and intoxicate ourselves is like, that's easy to understand, right? But um I feel like a lot of us just make this whole thing, this whole life, a lot more complicated than it needs to be. It's just so simple. If you want to do something, start doing it. And if it's not that simple, if the thing that you want to start doing requires a lot of learning or preparation, well, then you can start the learning. You can start the preparation. You can start whatever the first baby step is and just keep doing it, right? How do you learn a skill? You practice it every day. Again, with COVID, 2020 lockdowns, I realized that I've had this desire to learn Spanish for a really long time, but I haven't been applying myself. So what did I do? I started practicing every single day. I still practice every single day. And now, this many years later, this much time later, that's one of the reasons, one of the main reasons why this year was so good for me, was because we can just take that example of learning Spanish. Everything I've been doing the past 4 years or so has been, finally, it's been like coming back around and paying off. And I'm experiencing the I'm realizing what's the word? Realizing the profits of the investments that I've been making energetically into this thing. It doesn't need to be learning a language. It could be anything you can imagine. And some of those things, some of those profits are realized very quickly once you start practicing every day, whatever it is, whatever skill it is, or whatever talent or language or whatever you're trying to learn or learn how to do. When you practice every day for a week and then a month and then a year and then 2 years, and you don't take days off, you progress very quickly. And it's not a difficult thing. It's actually a very simple thing to do. And I could say, oh, well, you just have to believe that you could do it. But it's none of that language is even necessary at all, right? But I do think about that stuff sometimes because I know people firsthand in my life that don't believe in themselves, and they think, well, it's just going to be so hard. I don't know. It's like, and they immediately talk themselves out of pursuing their own interests in this life. And they do it for very long periods of time. In some cases, tragically, until it really is too late, right? Because if you're on your deathbed and you're thinking, oh, I wish I would have learned Italian, it's like, what even is the point of that? That's such a pathetic thought to have at that point. You know what I mean? Because you had all the time in the world and you never did it. You talked yourself out of it because you didn't think you were smart enough, or whatever the thing was. There's just such sad excuses I hear from people all the time. And all you had to do was start practicing one day and then do it the next day and just do it every day. And it becomes a part of your life. And then before you know it, you're speaking the language. And again, this is one example. Try to use your imagination and apply it to whatever it is that you've been wanting to do, or that whatever it is you're interested in, right? It could be learning how to draw. Don't worry too much about, though it is a good idea to have an idea about where you're aiming, right? But don't worry too much about, seeing that person who's been drawing for 30 years and they have such a high level of skill and ability to create beautiful images, right? And you're starting with absolute nothing. You have zero ability to draw anything. Don't focus too much on the differences, on that gap, right? Just focus on where you're at and making progress at any level, any shred, any sliver of progress. And in the very beginning, or in a really zoned in kind of way, you don't even need to think about progress. You just keep doing the thing. keep doing the thing every single day, and you, from day to day, maybe even week to week, you might not see the progress. But if you keep doing it and you don't stop, progress will be realized, it will be experienced, and you will get better. I've been all over the place in this video, but that's the idea with a video like this, is just to I just had like a flashback of what I was talking about earlier in the video that was seemingly completely disconnected, talking about myself and the social mask and being myself. But I guess the idea in sharing information, personal information like that, is that maybe somebody will relate to it. A lot of people might think it sounds weird and they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? But I have a feeling that at least some of you will be able to relate, because some of you have followed me for a while, and you've revisited the content that I make for a long time. But yeah, my idea for the future of this channel is to continue doing videos like this from time to time, as well as what I've started to do more of very recently, which is writing my thoughts down and trying to keep them concise, to pack more into a shorter message, more organized thoughts, more where they don't stray too far from the point in any given video or in any given message. And the idea is just to share positive messages that are good for us, right? And the idea is just that there's another me out there somewhere who needs to hear that, or a me from the past, or a me in the future who's kind of fallen off track, who needs to hear this stuff. Because there's just, again, a lot of toxic sludge, especially today, but maybe there always has been. And maybe it's going to get worse, I don't know. But on the internet, there's a lot of stuff that is just not real, and it's empty, and sometimes it's very entertaining. Sometimes I'm even laughing really hard at some of these videos that I see. And there is undeniably, in my opinion, value to that content that makes me laugh, because I can never speak against laughter, anything that causes laughter. But I can waste a lot of time in virtual spaces. And so if I'm going to spend my time creating content that I am going to leave in this virtual space, I think it may as well address ideas about, like, hey, maybe don't spend all your time here. You know what I mean? Maybe start to do real things in your real life. And you can use virtual spaces like this to fuel that. Again, going back to the easy example of learning a language, I can spend hours on YouTube learning Spanish. There's incredible content out there. There are incredible creators, people they've dedicated their channel to teaching Spanish, and they do it very well, right? So whatever it is that you want to learn, whatever it is you want to get better at, drawing, Spanish, it could be even a practical, almost like a trade. I mean, you can learn plumbing. I mean, would it be better to go the traditional route and do things the right way, and like an apprenticeship and like getting a job and actually doing the thing? Yeah. But I'm just saying, any type of ability or skill or talent, or there's a lot of value. There is a lot of value. Like, specifically, there are people who are teachers in this space. And though at this time I would say I'm unwilling to define myself in this space, my idea is just to continue being positive and showing people that it's okay to be positive. Like, you don't have to be like a negative piece of shit all the time. You don't need to be bitter and hateful and like against the world all the time, or down on yourself all the time. People get really trapped within themselves, and especially on the internet, if they find other people and they link up with them, it's to have a little toxic group of like negative people. In a way, maybe it feels like they're supporting each other because it's like they can relate to one another, but yeah, I just want to help people to understand, or just to remember. That's mostly what this is me trying to create reminders just like to help you remember that you have all the power. Nobody else has the power to control you and your life. You can voluntarily give it to them. A lot of people give it to their parents, and then they live this life where they're like just in servitude, and they everything they do is just to please their parents, or everything they do is to please their spouse, or everything they do is to please the homies, or whatever the hell kind of system they've got set up. Everything is about impressing people or making them like you more or earning their love. And it's just like they've created a trap for themselves, you know what I mean? I just want to remind people at the very least, if I can, on a somewhat regular basis, that you are the one who has the power. No one is coming to save you. No one is coming to pick you up and put all the pieces down where they're supposed to be and set you right back down and fix your life for you. You know what I mean? If you're letting everything slip, it's just going to keep slipping. It's going to keep getting uglier, right? The odds of something magically happening to turn things around when you don't do any actual work to make that thing happen are very low. You are the only one who will ever have the power to control your life and to mold your life or mold yourself to become the person that you would like to become, or to become a person that you don't hate. Some of us at times have allowed ourselves, or we can allow ourselves, to become something that we hate. And it's a slow process, and I don't think it's ever intentional. But they'll find themselves in this space where they just like, they look at their life, they look at the decisions that they have or have not made, and they just feel pathetic. And unfortunately, it's almost always our own doing. At least as an adult. I mean, yeah, I can think of exceptions of situations with, children and abuse from parents, and that's a different thing, and that's that's a different topic for a different video, right? Like, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about someone who's an adult and have had all the time in the world and all the resources and all the power within their self to do the right things, but they haven't done them. And they keep avoiding and distracting themselves and avoiding responsibility and procrastinating for years, maybe even up to a decade, maybe a couple of decades. And you end up becoming this person that you don't even like yourself anymore. You don't even have respect for yourself anymore. And I think it's always possible to come back from that, but you have to acknowledge it, and it hurts to acknowledge it. It's painful. But the idea is that you realize what you're doing or what you have done and start as soon as possible. That is, like, start right now, not next year, not your New Year's resolution, I'm going to be a better person next time. This time, right now, you can start that. You can start the process of acknowledging that, right? And realizing that. And again, life isn't all sunshine, rainbows, and positivity, and it's not all magical. You don't just think, oh, wow, yeah, I'm just going to notice that I've ruined my life up to this point, and I'm just going to magically turn around, make a complete 180, and everything's going to be beautiful. It's going to be really hard, and it's going to hurt, and it's going to take a lot of hard work, and it's going to feel impossible, probably, depending on how far you've slipped. But there are spaces where you will be supported, right? There are spaces where you will be met with positive energy, and there will be people who want the best for you. Not everything is ugly out there. It's not as dark or as heavy as it might seem when you're in a really bad place. But at the same time, it's not likely that anyone's going to completely pick you up and do it for you, right? I don't believe it's difficult to find support or to find people who can offer you a helping hand. But we have to acknowledge the fact that we need to do the work as well. We need to do the majority of the work in any situation. We just have to be honest with ourselves. Happy New Year!